Hey guys, before we start today's video, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Movie Palette. Right now, you can use discount code NERD15 for 15% off all of their products, which are some of the best movie-related products out there right now. As many of you know, I'm a big movie fan. More specifically, I love the way movies are made, the cinematography, the technical aspects, and the color grading, and that's what Movie Palette captures so uniquely and beautifully and stunningly. Look at some of these canvases of some of the biggest movies of all time: Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, classics, romantic comedies. They've got it all. Their unique process is pretty fascinating as well. Their incredible team takes a single movie, they capture every scene, single out the dominant color, and chronologically place them as colored stripes on canvas. And it really captures that sort of painterly quality that movies have. They're able to tell stories through colors, and that's kind of what these canvases are doing. And our friends over at Movie Palette were nice enough to send us our very own canvas, and there was so much to choose from, but I settled on Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, not only because it's a beautiful canvas that celebrates the incredible work by Peter Jackson and Andrew Lesnie and that entire team that made some of the best looking movies of all time, but it matches my bedroom decor. Look at that. Happy coincidence, right? It's got the perfect color palette for my bed sheets, and it's just absolutely stunning when you get an up-close and personal look at the work that they're doing on these canvases. To me, it's one of my favorite visual representations of movies. I just find it so unique, so fascinating, a great way to represent the movies we all know and love. And like we mentioned before, you can use code NERD15 for 15% off all of their products, so head on over to their website, scroll, check out all the different canvases they offer. Truly some stunning works of art. There's no way in hell I'm going to be able to resist picking up that Blade Runner 2049 canvas. God, that is one beautiful movie, and it made one beautiful movie palette. So, go on over to their website and see if you can find the movie palette for you.
Good soup. History does not remember blood. It remembers names.
Do you like the morning reviews?
I do. I'm up at like 5, ready to go.
Yeah, this kid's all fucking chipper over here.
You guys aren't? You
Dude.
slept for 12 hours, and I don't know what your plan was this morning.
Slept for literally half of that. I ended up staying up until 1 a.m. playing Nintendo. I'm like, I got to be up at 7:30, but you know what? Fuck it.
Apparently, there's like a 4-month sleep regression, and Amelia's in that right now. So like 11, 12 o'clock, she's waking up every night now.
Wait, say that again? What is it called?
A 4-month sleep regression. So she's been sleeping really good through the night. And at 4 months, they say that they stop.
Oh, that's when it changes.
Yeah.
It goes back to up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and it's happening. We're in the middle of it right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and Teddy, and we are here to review episode 4 of the HBO original series, House of the Dragon. A very solid episode that I had the chance to review by myself, but I thought I
How'd that go?
held it down well enough.
Nervous?
Views
Is it awkward doing it by yourself?
Yes.
It is, right?
You have to change it. Everyone is like, why did you become a poet for this review?
You have
I'm
to.
like, I don't know how to do this.
Did you put up like a picture of Aaron? Like make it seem like you were talking to him?
No, when I put the outro in, I blacked out his eyes like he was a criminal.
Right.
I thought it was pretty funny. And then we did the whole, at the end of the Rings of Power, we put Teddy's face on Aaron's body.
Oh, okay.
It's just the movie magic we cook up here in the Nerd Soup kitchen. But yeah, you could listen to this episode, if you're listening on YouTube. Thank you. Watch it, I guess. You can watch the little graphics going on the screen, little sound waves. But you can also listen wherever you get your podcasts. So you should be able to find us at the Nerd Soup Podcast. And follow us on social medias at Nerd Soup, Beau Soup, Nerd Soup Monkey, Teddy Nerd Soup, Anthony JQ Nash. He's working hard right now. He's making some good decisions, good life decisions. So
he's making moves.
I figured I'd give him a shout out for his social media, make him feel a little better. He needs it. Yeah, good episode. I already gave my thoughts, so I figured I'd just throw it to you guys. Whoever wants to speak first.
It's
There you go.
I'm going in first.
Go for it.
It's crazy how this show does its time jumps. It will do its time jump, and you would make it. It's like it never happened. You just right back with them, like exactly how what's going on.
And they don't feel off, right? When the time jumps do happen.
3 years, dude.
Yeah.
3 years is a long time. The war is pretty much over, or it's like they're about to lose. Like, we missed a whole 3-year thing of war, but when we get to the shot of them in the war, it's like you've watched the entire war.
Right.
Like, you feel how everyone's feeling. There was about to be a mutiny.
I've been wondering episode to episode if you're going to feel that time in between, and I think they have done a good job of establishing the characters have changed. You know, it's funny when Lanor's actor changes and Millie Alcock, they just change her makeup.
Right.
So she's supposed to be a little older. But I've been able to suspend my disbelief for the most part. I think it's just because the performances are so good. Mm-hmm. When you're just watching these characters, they feel like they are those characters. They're embodying the roles. So it doesn't really make a difference at this point.
Like, we're watching them grow up, pretty much.
Yeah. And I think this episode was definitely important. You know, it was about the things that they can or cannot do now in these roles. It's that sort of struggle between what you want to do and what you have to do. And this season has done a good job establishing that theme.
I think they do a good job of, within this story they're telling in each episode, kind of filling in those gaps for you. Like, just little things with Rhaenyra and Alicent in the beginning after Daemon arrives home. You can tell that they've maybe not mended their friendships, but over the time since the time we last seen them together, they have kind of, I guess, gotten used to the idea or gotten used to what is happening and kind of the situation they're in right now. And they seemed like they were ready to kind of maybe mend that friendship again. So as long as they do that and continue to do that, I don't know if the time jumps are going to continue once we get established in the
next one, right?
The older kind of when these characters are older. But for the time being, while they're doing them, I think as long as they keep making sure that serious changes aren't happening and they're able to explain maybe some of the smaller changes within the episode that's currently airing, they're doing, like, that's a good way to go about it. You never feel lost or that you've missed something, or within that time something so major happened and now this character is completely different. They seem to be coming back to these characters at pivotal times in their lives where those changes are happening in real time. Especially with Rhaenyra, because like you said, she has been kind of growing up before our eyes, but she is, 21 now? I think Ryan Condal said on the inside of the episode that it's been 6 years. So we kind of seen her mature into this role and kind of find out what it means to be not just herself, but like a woman in this I always forget how to say in this era or in this time period, but it's just complete in this world.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I wanted. What
Who's
I wanted to say.
The knight that she appointed, Sir what?
Kristen.
A big relationship that maybe I would have liked to see develop more was her and Sir Kristen, because they look like they're really, really bonded together.
Well, I think that they established that going forward.
I like that they did, but
yeah.
I'm saying I would have liked to see because of how close they are right now.
But I think that was the first big moment, because I think they established that they're going to be close moving forward during the hunt sequence and how they kind of established a friendship there. And even in this episode, him being assigned to her as the personal guard or guarding her room at night, I think just speaks a lot about what their relationship is. But, he seemed very surprised when she made that advance at him.
Yeah.
So, you can assume nothing like that has ever happened before, or that he just viewed them as
really close friends.
Yeah, either a guard relationship or just even more so friends.
She was also vulnerable too, being played by Daemon.
It was interesting.
But she kind of plays him too.
Yeah. No, because again, listening to it inside the episode, I think the director said that Daemon kind of showed her, and the way they directed it made it to view sex as something that can be pleasurable for both a man and a woman, and that it's something that you can take control of and do with as you please, rather it be. And I love the way they kind of flash back to Alicent, where it was the complete opposite in her situation.
Yeah, with Viserys.
Yes, so that was actually, it reminded me of in episode 1 of the tourney sequence being taken place at the same time as the birthing scene, where these two different events, or these two different quote unquote battles going on, where this is two different ways, I guess, Rhaenyra is being introduced to sex and what Alicent has been going through. And I think with her kind of bringing in Kristen, that was her way of taking control, or kind of realizing that from what Daemon showed her, that she's able to take control and do what she wants. And if she wants to have sex for pleasure, why does it only have to be the men in this world that can do it? I can do it as well.
The whole time Daemon was taking her around the city, and he showed her that play. I thought he was like trying to show her that like the way has to be the way. Like, you know,
I think
like,
she learned a lot of
Aegon
lessons.
has to take over.
Yeah.
Well, like with that play scene, but then he goes into the whorehouse with her. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think the lesson there was it matters what the small people think,
Yeah.
even if they don't have voting rights.
Imagine being called a small person or small folk. It's so mean.
Casuals, the casuals, they have no say.
And
But you know the scene in season 2 when they're walking through the streets and they start throwing shit at King Joffrey and a fucking riot breaks out. People are getting murdered. People are throwing shit. Joffrey could have lost his life, you know? So you think you're king, you can't be touched. Walking through the street and all of a sudden it just takes one person to say, asshole, and everybody else fucking chimes in. So yeah, there was important lessons. And like Aaron said, the juxtaposition of what Alicent's going through and what Rhaenyra's doing. Rhaenyra's just out in the town living her best life, and Alicent's just strictly duty. Have to bed this sickly old man.
Oof.
It's not that he's a bad dude. It's just an uncomfortable situation to be in.
It's not
and
Kristen Cole.
No Kristen Cole. And people pointed this out too with Kristen Cole that could be a costly decision. You know, he's got that moment. The visual storytelling in this episode was you could write an hour-long video essay on all the visual cues for the narrative. But when he takes off the cloak and he puts it and he's just staring at it like, damn, what's more important to me in this moment? Is it pleasure or is it duty? And that was definitely the reoccurring theme throughout the episode. But the director, Claire Kilner, I didn't shout her out on my review, but I did compliment her directing, that it was very tasteful. And it's not surprising that it was a female director. She mentioned that she wanted to capture the female gaze. And I think, you know, the points that she made, like you just reiterated about that it can be pleasure for both a man and a woman. I like that idea. And you definitely see it, especially in the scene with Kristen, but also with Daemon. You know, she snaps back at him a couple times. She's the aggressor. And I think for Daemon, I felt bad for him. You know, he initiates this, and I think he does love Rhaenyra. I think at this point we can say that. He also can't perform. So it's similar to what happened with Massaria. And people have been wondering, you know, what's up with that? Is he...
Wait, is that what it was? Or he just didn't want to do it? I thought maybe he had
seemed
a change of
right?
heart. Yeah, at first he did, yeah. But
I don't
thought
think
maybe
it was this is incest, right? That's not
That's
stopping
what I
a
thought happened. That's why
Targaryen.
he stopped it.
You think a Targaryen cares about incest? Anything that helps. If it's not incest, then you would be like, oh, that's...
Wait, so is it okay if I say I really like Daemon's character? Like, it's not like it's
Sure.
No,
all right, cool.
I think Daemon may be my favorite character so
Too.
far.
He was so swaggy when he walks in with his crown.
And, you know, the title of the episode being The King of the Narrow Sea, a lot of the episode is about him even when he's not in the scene. The first shot of the episode, she's fiddling with the necklace while all these suitors are lined up. She's never going to see in these men what she already sees in Daemon.
Yeah.
So that's the love of her life. And when they get back together, it's probably the most comfortable that they've been for how many years
Saw her
they've been
smile
apart.
finally, dude. She was so happy when he came back.
Right, and the way that he leads her out through the secret passageways, and he takes her hand, and it's like they're gleefully like, "Oh, where are we gonna go? Take me anywhere," and they end up in a fucking brothel. So all that was done. And the street, you know, it's a narrow street, but it feels alive. It feels big. You know, it's definitely a set, but they managed to capture just all of King's Landing in that one block. So that was very impressive. Yeah. And, you know, for the book readers, they've been pointing out, first of all, book readers, stop spoiling the show on Twitter. It's embarrassing. Yeah. We get it. You read the book. But there was a lot of great foreshadowing in this episode for some bigger events, which was cool. It's fun, the way that they were sort of teasing the fans with that. But that whole sequence, I thought, was really well put together. And like I said, her directing, the way that the camera moved, it was like almost a dance inside the brothel. You know, the push and the pull, the give and the take. It's so steamy, you know?
Yeah, I really like the way they showed King's Landing. I mean, we've seen some like street level King's Landing in the past, but I think this was like one of the first times that we've really, you know, got some of the culture of what the small folk in King's Landing are like. I mean, the whole time watching it, I felt so sorry for like Alicent, because they kept going back to her just being alone, and you know, there's no real excitement in her life anymore. She has no friends. She gets called upon by Viserys whenever he wants, and there's just nothing to do. Meanwhile, people who have nothing, you know, at least they're living, right?
Yeah.
You might look down upon it and think what they're doing is uncivilized, just by nature of where they're living or just how they're behaving, but I would much rather do that than be stuck in a castle with nobody any day of the week. And yeah, with the whole plays, I love that I keep going back to the dragon thing. Like, it just felt yeah, it just felt alive. And yeah, like in the brothel, kind of the way that was directed, it was dark and you couldn't really see. And for Rhaenyra, it's something so new, and she's kind of excited about it. It's something that she's assumably never witnessed or been a part of. And for Daemon, I think the director mentioned that like Rhaenyra taking control of the situation is also what kind of pushed it, like kind of scared him a little. Also, maybe a little bit that, you know, him maybe realizing that this isn't necessarily the right thing to do, because like Targaryens, you know, they do love incest, but you see the way Viserys reacts. It's something that has to be, I think, curated, not just on a whim. I'm going to take your daughter who's unwed to a brothel.
Yeah, it's very much about, I just don't like you. I just don't think you're good for Rhaenyra. If I liked you more, yeah, I'd let you marry her. Are you kidding me?
That's why I was thrown off when you got so mad, and why like I started like, wait, maybe this isn't right.
Yeah, I think it
he
really
was
is
really
just,
upset about it.
Yeah, I don't want you anywhere near my daughter. I don't like the influence that you have on her, especially as a potential husband.
That doesn't make sense though, because he's like so happy when he comes back, and like he apologizes kind of when he bends the knee. Like they had that like nice exchange.
You're gonna see an old friend after a few years. You're gonna be like, "Oh, here's my daughter."
Yeah, true. No,
literally the second day he's there, he's trying to bang this guy's daughter. They just reconciled.
I love that too. It's like he comes back. It's like, oh, like Daemon, like changed man, new perspective on life, and he's
new haircut.
Yeah,
same old Daemon.
Man walked in there limping with the crown on.
Great visual storytelling there too. Viserys, they put the crown on him. He's using his sword as a fucking cane. He can barely walk. And Daemon struts in after 3 years of fighting. Yeah. Like he's never been healthier. Just, hey, how's it going? You know, what are you guys doing in here? Here's this crown I won. You want it? I don't give a fuck.
Need it. Yeah.
But I think part of it, like with Viserys also, is him giving Rhaenyra the freedom to choose who she wants to wed. You know, setting up this tour and her coming back and basically just not wanting anything to do with it still. I think that also like feeds into why he's upset now that Daemon came back, and that's the one, or that's like she disregarded everything that he's done to help, and now she's just off with Daemon.
No, Daemon comes back, and then she loses sight of everything, and then they go.
You're going up to the princess. You got to spit your. You got to make your case. You have 30 seconds. What are you saying?
I got no case, man. Are you kidding?
So Ted,
I gotta beat down Honda.
That kid was doing his best.
My catalytic converter just got stolen, so if you give me a ride home and you're dragging, that would be sweet.
It's all about the little things for me, you know. We'll go out into town, and that would have worked.
She probably would have liked that.
Yeah,
I would have been like, "You sell me,
dude. If you want to, like, you have to go the angle."
Well, that was funny when he's like, how's Blackwood stood with the Targaryens during Aegon's conquest? And the dude on the side was like, yeah, I'm sure they really turned the tides. Like, I will protect you. She's got a dragon, you dumb cunt.
Then he stabs him.
Rhaenyra's like, I kind of like this guy. I think the way they shot that, where I wanted him to kill that guy so badly. So when you hear the killing blow, I'm like, please let it be the kid that won this duel.
You know?
He didn't hesitate, man.
No.
Dude, balls of steel.
Sheathe that steel, you cunt.
Yeah. There's just something about kids in this world that have to act like adults that's always so funny.
People forget.
And almost endearing.
Well, the ages of the characters in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like what you did, like you're saying that right now. Like Rhaenyra's heir to the throne. She's 16.
Right.
She has to grow up. It's crazy.
Like, but like Jon and Robb and Daenerys in the books when we first see them are 13, 14. Like,
really?
Yeah.
When all that happens in Game of Thrones in season 1, they're that young?
Mm-hmm.
In the show, they've aged up, but yeah, in the books, they're...
Wow.
You gotta grow up fast in this world.
For real.
Yeah, look at Lyanna Mormont, right?
Right, yeah.
She's at the table cooking.
She was such a boss. But that opening scene, I mean, Storm's End looked so pretty, that throne that she was sitting on. Yeah. And also, it shows her immaturity, like you said. Viserys and Alicent are going through all these efforts to set her up with a great match. She's disinterested. She's making jokes. She cuts it off early, leaves, and goes right back home. So she's not taking her duty seriously, and that's why I think there is some growing resentment, even though that they had that nice moment in the beginning of the episode. And people were wondering maybe Alicent still has that crush on Daemon, so it once again represents there's no childhood left for me. There's no passion left. There's nothing for me to explore. All my desires, I just have to basically repress them. And now it's Rhaenyra who gets to be with the man who gave me his favor at the tournament. That was my childhood crush, and she gets to do
Live
that.
out her
I think
childhood
it has
dreams.
less to do with Damon and her, but more to do with her situation.
Right, yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because I totally forgot that Damon did give her the favor. Because everybody was like, oh, she has a crush on Damon. I was like, have they even spoken? And then episode 1.
You can even like hear some of that in just what she says to like Rhaenyra, especially when it comes to like the matchmaking. When she was like, you know, you're lucky if you have like 2 choices. For everyone else, it's you're told what to do, and you have this opportunity that's pretty much unprecedented to I don't know, probably hundreds of suitors were lined up and still couldn't pick one. So to Alicent, this is like you're kind of being selfish, or you're taking this for granted. I had to marry your dad.
And it is funny how they've sort of flipped it. You know, in episode 3, it's Rhaenyra who feels more isolated. She says that nobody's here for her. Alicent and Viserys seem relatively happy that they're this nice little unit. And now, over the years, they've become more distanced from each other. And that scene, you talked about the time jump. You can establish things that have happened in that lost time. Him laughing in her face when she tells Daemon, you want to see the tapestries. And he's just like, come on. You could have been a bit more respectful.
Yeah.
No, he's not interested in that. But he's looking at her like, are you a fucking idiot?
Well, just that shot when they were, you know, having sex, and you just see her face, like the disgust in her face. Like, you can tell that like things are just not good anymore.
Yeah, no, that was tough to watch.
They're sleeping in separate rooms.
Yes, and people made the joke on Twitter that he sent her a "you up" text. But right, yeah, he's just basically there to take care of her children and have sex with the king. She's a 1950s housewife.
Literally.
Yeah. How were the jokes on Twitter? I think I kind of missed them because I watched the episode a bit late.
Dude. I love Twitter.
They did the one joke of these 2 kids hysterically laughing, and it was Viserys and Daemon when Alicent asked if Daemon wanted to see the tapestries.
Is it the scene when I
like,
think I know the
slapping
video
5.
when he falls down?
Yeah.
I love that one.
They like keep slapping 5. Like,
yeah.
Oh, poor girl. No, the memes have been very funny. There was one where it was Rich Evans from Red Letter Media, and he's drinking, and the caption is, when they keep mentioning the Prince That Was Promised theory.
Oh, I saw that.
And he's just imagining all the dumb things Jon did in season 8. That keeps pissing me off at this point. Not keeps, it's only happened twice. But for them to evoke it again, the Prince Who Was Promised, That Was Promised.
But it's cool.
Shut
what is it,
up.
like, to have Cat's Paw now, like, have that message on it.
Right,
and
yeah,
think
Cat's
about
Paw.
where, like,
It
how
does
it
eventually-
ended up with fucking, I don't know, Joffrey giving it to some random henchman to kill Bran.
I know, right? Joffrey was mad disrespectful to the royal artifacts.
Littlefinger once owned that Targaryen dagger.
That was Aegon's fucking dagger, and Littlefinger just has it.
Respect.
That boy, Littlefinger. It should have been Jon. Can you imagine, though, if it was... maybe that doesn't make season 8 good, but if it was Jon with that dagger, imagine if that was the tie-in where we could say, yeah, the Targaryen prince.
But it was Arya's dagger.
Listen, I don't want to be one of those like, oh, you know, Arya's a little girl. How did she do? I love Arya, but I still, and I loved it in the moment.
Well, yeah, now that it's the ancestral Targaryen dagger with the prince that was
Yeah,
promised
come on,
on
man.
it. Arya.
It's just, it's just Arya's dagger. Like, Arya's awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to see some, I wanted her to do some face stuff and Jon to do what he's been set up to do.
The stabbing stuff.
Yeah, but, that's whatever. Just stop mentioning it. But I mean, Paddy Considine, everyone keeps complimenting his performances, but just another very strong performance, especially in that scene with Daemon. When he's unable to control his emotions, he's just letting it all out once again. And the differences between those characters, Daemon's never been more calm.
Yeah.
And both scenes with the king, right? It's a high tension. You have the entire capital just waiting for your arrival. Doesn't look phased whatsoever. And in this scene, he's on the floor with a knife to his neck, and he's like, "I want to bang your daughter. Let's do this."
The two parallels are hilarious, dude. In the fight, when he like risks it, like his life is over, he's just going in at the battle, and he just doesn't care anymore. And now he just doesn't care anymore. He's
getting his ass kicked.
Yeah,
he's got that devil may care attitude down pat.
Yeah.
Even in scenes when he's just looking at people. The first conversation between Rhaenyra and Daemon, he's just got such a devilish grin.
But he's talking smart. Like, he's talking good game to her.
No, he knows.
Not talking game, but like
He's a smart dude.
Yeah.
No, he gives it the whole thing
lessons.
about you can't live your life in fear.
Yeah.
That speaks to the way Rhaenyra is feeling. You know, what happened to her mother. She sees how women are treated. She is a little scared to let loose.
He strikes me as someone who's realized what this world is at a very young age.
There you go, yeah.
And let it take over his personality to the point where he just doesn't care and nothing matters, because he realized nothing does matter. You know, where just no matter what you do or what you say, everything is kind of already set into motion in a way that you really can't control. So I'm just going to do what I want and kind of just let everything else
happen around.
Around. Even like, and it was cool to see Mysaria kind of. This was a character that we were looking forward to seeing because of, you know, her backstory and all that, and we kind of get a little bit of a sense of what her role is going to be going forward. But yeah, him going with Rhaenyra and kind of returning to Mysaria in that state, just basically, you know, almost. I don't want to say pathetic, but like he's just not the person that he was when he strutted into that throne room earlier in the episode with the crown coming off the back of this huge victory. He's kind of devolved back into what maybe people perceive of him to begin with.
It is funny how what he considers to be a defeat. You know, him not being able to perform sex, that will just zap all of the confidence. But, you know, a 3-year war, by the end of it, he's still just ready to scrap. You know, he's never been more ready to. So the battles that you have to fight, sometimes it's easier. They always make this case that it's just easier to be out there with your sword in hand and knowing the goal is to kill the person in front of you. But when it comes to things like marrying your niece, it's way more complicated.
Even with like simple things like fathering a daughter. It's like, let's put a sword in my hand any day. Yeah,
I made this point on the review that I love the way they've used the Valyrian language, especially when it comes to the two of them. It is like their love language. The conversation gets a bit more deep and more important. They switch over to the Valyrian. It's like they're keeping secrets. They don't want any eavesdroppers just between them. And that relationship has continued to develop into... I mean, obviously they've established the romance here. So, yeah, but the whole episode really is just about him. It's about his presence. About how he's moving the story along. Even for a character like Alicent, you know, that don't interact, but at the end she does say Daemon's never been the more trustworthy of the two. So it's almost like she's jealous of this, you know, the way that he lives his life, because he represents everything she'll never have or can't do.
Well, even with Alicent kind of defending Rhaenyra,
yeah,
or I don't know if she believed her or if she's like, this is what my friend wants the narrative to be. I'm going to kind of help push that narrative. And even telling Viserys is like, well, you never even talked to your daughter yet, so how are you making these assumptions? Because obviously Otto got the information of what happened, or actually really didn't happen, but...
he's such a loser. Viserys is like, spit it out.
Yeah.
They were coupling. Viserys is like, you can't say fucking.
My lord, he had her pressed against the wall at a brothel.
And
I loved his reaction, man. He just had
he
the
got
eyebrow
all up
in the
in
air.
That, my lord.
My lord, it was reported he was in her guts.
not my words, though.
He was, according to reports, breaking that back out.
Viserys
Your
is
Grace.
just looking at him like, yeah, right. Got to keep the formalities. Why? It's not until he mentions Daemon. At first, oh, your daughter was in a brothel.
And?
Yeah, come on, man. I'm a libertarian. I don't care about that. It's legal. With Daemon, oh, that changes things, you know. Then all of a sudden, it's, why are you bringing my daughter to a brothel?
It's like when you watch like modern day political dramas, when you're like, we have this picture of the senator doing some crazy activity. It's like, and you gotta like make sure it doesn't get out and everything. But this is medieval times where you can just lie and no one could ever say that you've did anything wrong.
Good old days.
This is slander. It's funny because when she's watching the play, she says, boo, boo, slander. And then she gets fucking slandered later in the episode from Otto. But that was brilliant by her, right? She negotiates with her dad, hey, if you want me to get married to Laenor so badly, why don't you get rid of Otto? Because he's clearly scheming against me.
She blew up Otto's whole plan, dude. This man was on the verge of winning.
And Viserys continues to be such a complicated character because he does acknowledge what Otto has done for him. He showed him how to be king. But he also tells him, you're a fucking asshole. And it's so obvious.
Yeah, I mean...
He didn't see it at first, it said, because he
it's weird
played.
Because, like, obviously, if this was just something that...
And you like Viserys. So it's like you don't want to see him get played.
I think the big thing is the fact that he was just having
So
having her followed. I think that was the main reason.
Yeah, right.
That removed, I think that's very valuable information that the king should know, just so he can prepare and kind of make sure everything's going.
Oh, but he said his spy, right, or his
his spy, and I assume that it was from Missaria that he got that information because of the way it was.
No, it was that little kid.
Oh yeah, would that be a spoiler? That he got that from information from Missaria?
No, I think they do kind of establish it in the episode because that kid, you could see him talking to Missaria.
Okay. And you see the kid that saw them is actually, I guess, working with or knows Missaria, so you can assume maybe that information and kind of her new, trade is going to be dealt in with more of, secrets and things of that nature, especially being so close and working in a brothel all those years. She probably has dirt on a lot of people. So
I was speculating if maybe Damon set that up. You funnel that information to Otto knowing that he can't resist telling the king and that it's going to piss him off to the point where he gets dismissed. Why are you following my daughter? You're going too far.
Allison says it too. He's like, Rhaenyra wouldn't lie, but Damon, I'm not so sure about that.
Right.
You can see. I can see that happening. Yeah.
But it makes you wonder how long is this going on? Because Otto was the one who got the information about Damon in episode 1 about the heir for the day within that same brothel.
Yeah, he's the one that came out and said that. Yeah.
How
Man's
long has he been
fucking
spying? How long?
Everywhere.
Littlefinger, man. Littlefinger 2.0.
It's weird because you can argue that he's doing it for the good of the realm and he's trying to help the king out, but he also, it's ridiculous to say that he has no self-interest in this happening because of his daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Just so happens that Damon every time.
Damon's not a bit of a troublemaker.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying it's funny that it's always Damon that he's coming to.
Yeah, and if Rhaenyra is going to be Aegon's biggest challenge, and if she has Damon in her corner, that makes her more powerful. Right. Great warrior. His rep has gone up.
I mean, if they did wed, that would firmly establish her as heir. But that would be a weird situation because I think, especially the way we saw the small folk react, everyone would be like Damon's king.
Oh, yeah,
right.
Without a doubt. And Damon doesn't seem like someone who... I mean, he definitely wants power. He wants the throne. But I also think he wouldn't mind taking a step back for a character like Rhaenyra. There's just so much respect between the two of them. You know, when he's just a different man when he's around her. And Rhaenyra, with other people, she's a bit more irritable. With Damon, she softens up. She loosens up. And you could definitely see it, just with the way they're walking around the town. Just the joy on her face when she gets called boy. He called me boy. She just has the best time when she's with him.
Like when she was booing the play.
Yeah. It's
well, you see that... You see that when he takes the egg and he wants to start the war, and she pulls up with the dragon. And they had that confrontation, and he just backs down from her.
Right. Everything about him just changes. His body language...
he was ready to go to war.
He was.
And then she pulls up, and then she...
Well, you have to wonder, maybe it was just a ploy to see her again, right? I haven't seen my love or this woman I love in so long. I'm going to steal a dragon egg because I know that's going to bring her out.
It's so funny. Viserys, being so upset that the idea of his brother courting his niece, his daughter, so an uncle and nephew, but then it's like, you're going to marry your cousin.
Oh, he makes her marry the cousin?
Oh,
later,
yeah. Right.
That's disgusting. Now go marry your cousin.
Yeah, I guess it's less nasty. They, the sea snake, not even in the episode, but just hearing the information that he's going to wed his son to somebody from the Free Cities, that really puts them up against the wall. They have no choice at that point but to join their houses. So... good politicking from a character who doesn't even show his face, doesn't even speak a line of dialogue. Well, that's why those scenes are so great. Sorry to cut you off, Teddy, because that information is relayed, and the camera hones in on Rhaenyra, and you see in her head she's thinking, "Damn, I'm being backed into a corner here. I'm gonna have no choice, even though I want to do what I have to do. Duty comes first."
Yeah, she's thinking in her head, oh, Laner. He was cute, right? We grow a little bit. All right, we'll see. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Has a dragon? Okay, yeah. All right, sure.
I'm gonna have to bring Kristen with me though to Driftmark.
Well,
it's very important.
I need my personal guard.
He's very smart.
And Damon, I need some family there.
Need some family.
Who else?
How about that mushroom? How about him?
You can see how much of a toll being king is putting on Viserys right now too.
Oh yeah.
Because everywhere he goes, it's the politicking about who his daughter's in the wed. And he just can't get away from it. Even when they go to the hunt, it's supposed to be a nice celebratory thing, and it's every 2 seconds he's fighting with Rhaenyra, or someone's bringing up who they think she should wed. No, he's just fed up with it.
Yeah, and the way that his body's falling apart.
Yeah.
I think the actor confirmed that it is leprosy, but it's just there's no way to cure it, right?
What, did he lose both of his fingers?
He saw his back during the sex scene. Like,
that was nasty, dude. Oh, that whole visual, that was just like unsettling.
That's the great visual storytelling, is that how corrupted he's becoming, and not in the sense of he's doing evil things, but it's just the weight of everything. It's just showing. It's just not through his what he's saying, the dialogue, but that the visual storytelling has been great. And every episode he becomes more and more weak. And I think even in the preview for spoilers, if anybody doesn't want to hear this, skip ahead like 10 seconds. They say the king is going to die eventually. This is how fucking sick he is. So
you can just see it though. It's not really a spoiler though. You can just see how he looks right now.
It's obvious at this point. Yeah,
it looks
definitely
horrible.
well, yeah, I mean, it's in the preview too. So, but yeah, like, and again,
Why
like
he's
his
screaming.
conversation with Rhaenyra, I think there was continued to be
What
this.
is that?
I don't know why he's screaming.
Who?
Aaron.
Was I screaming?
Yeah, it's in the preview. You fucking moron.
And again, his conversations with Rhaenyra, I think, continue to steal every episode that they are featured in, because they are some of the better written scenes and the more emotional scenes. And I think, again, both Paddy Considine and Millie Alcock were fantastic. It's because it always kind of hits the same beats, but like throughout the whole episode, they have a disconnect, and when they finally get together and are able to speak their mind, it's just they kind of build it up.
And then in the
It always
next
happens in the
episode, they're
beginning.
going to be on the opposite side. Yeah. It literally is every
Every time.
episode.
You figure it out, and then the next
Episode
one.
one, you know what? You're the heir. Episode 2, well, I don't really know about that. End of episode 2, no, you're definitely still the heir. End of episode 3, you can marry whoever you want.
But you're still the heir.
Yeah. And then beginning of episode 4, why don't you want to fucking marry anybody? I fucking hate you.
No.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very real dynamic between father and daughter. And the scenes are, I don't want to call them repetitive, but they are hitting home the same ideas. So the commentary that we provide has kind of been the same, that it's the struggle between what you have to do and what you want to do. They seem to really love each other, but it's just not as simple as that.
He's always very forgiving and very willing to hear Rhaenyra out, because even, I think it was last episode or episode 2, when she gets back from Dragonstone and he's very upset at her, but then as she talks and realizes the situation, he kind of calms down a little bit and they talk about something else, and he kind of forgives her for that. Here, the same thing, lashes out on her for going out with Daemon, going to the brothel and all that, and at the end of this episode gives her the tea to help, kind of like another showing of, okay, I've accepted what happened, it's fine, you're gonna be fine, I still am looking out for you. So it's definitely, like, I think it might not be perfect, but he's trying his best to be a good father, and probably more than most lords and people in this situation, in this world,
Well,
where
everyone
he's
says,
very
like,
much
you're king.
willing.
What you say goes.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want it. I just want her to be happy.
But he's willing to hear Rhaenyra out and will do things to help her, even if she does things that upset him.
Right, he says in this episode that Jaharis would have had you sent away, would have put you in exile for doing the things that you've done, for doing half of the things that you've done. So he's giving her way more leeway because of the fact that he is a good dude, and then he has a good heart. And George commented on this, that he thinks the character of Viserys of the show is better than the character that he's written. Just more layers.
Mm-hmm.
So that always really adds to it. He made comparisons to King Lear, and I've seen those comparisons as well. I think it's a very good choice by the actor to bring that. I mean, and the writers as well, obviously, but this indecisive, all these decisions that he has to make, is just really tearing him apart.
Right. I feel like it's easy to write a character or a king as being weak or a pushover.
Right.
But when you spend time with Viserys, that might be your first impression, but you kind of realize why he's this way. And maybe he's not that weak at all.
I was just going to say, there's a difference between a weak man and a weak king. A weak king can be because you're a good man. If you're a weak man, you don't defend your family, you don't stick up for the things that are right. He's trying to do right by his family, so it's like being a good man in this situation makes you a weak king, which it's just a horrible contradiction to have to live with.
Like, is it weak to want, like you said, to support, like, you can argue with him sticking to his guns and keeping Rhaenyra as heir. Is
that not a sign of strength?
Yeah, with all this outside pressure. I think you put it perfectly.
But as being a strong king, you would think it's, you know what, Aegon's the heir.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the best thing for the realm. And I know you have a dragon.
It's really funny how those two conflict each other in this world. Ned Stark, is he weak? He's a weak at playing the game, sure. But a strong man, though. Strong, like, in the eyes of his family and the people closest to him.
I love the way that George plays with that, because a character like Tywin, you can make the case he's a strong man. He always does what's right for the family, but not cultivating those personal relationships ends up being his downfall. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a father like Ned, so his son ends up killing him on the shitter. You know,
what a way to go out.
Robb Stark's not running up on Ned on the toilet.
No, he's not.
Maybe Theon.
Yeah. Theon mended it, though, by the end, right?
Yeah, no, he's all right. He came around.
You know, actually, I'm sitting here thinking there's so much going on right now, and it's only between one house. Like, we're only watching House Targaryen. Like, we're not seeing Otto
the Storm's End.
Talking.
Who knows what's going on there?
Yeah, it's like it's crazy what happens behind the scenes, but we're only watching how Viserys is seeing everything.
Winterfell, we're not getting going crazy right now.
Yeah,
there's like, I don't know, taxes going on.
No, they're big cooling, man.
Yeah,
Winterfell's in its golden age.
I feel like the Iron Island's always got some shit going on.
Oh, there's probably, but it's boring, so nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, but like in the original Game of Thrones, we get maybe 20 minutes of Otto talking with his house with Alicent, and
yeah, that's why I think it's easier to kind of with these time jumps and kind of because you don't have that other story. You're not going to Winterfell, you're not going to Essos, you're not going to Dorne, you're not going to the Iron Islands. Like, you're able to tell much more about of a story within these characters in the allotted hour.
Right.
So it's like, if you don't make these time jumps, what are you going to use to fill in the gaps?
Yeah, it could have been repetitive. And I view Game of Thrones epic adventure, dark fantasy. This feels more like high fantasy political tragedy. So obviously there are a lot of similarities, but honing in on one family, getting more personal with them, it's going to make things down the road a bit more tragic when people keep saying, oh, who are the heroes, who are the villains? It really is just kind of these gray characters who are stuck in a very messy situation. That's why it's easy for me to be sympathetic for Rhaenyra and Alicent. There's some fans saying Rhaenyra comes off as entitled in this episode, and Alicent is coming off as a schemer, a conniver. But look at the situations they're put in. They were friends, and because of the circumstances, they're developing into political rivals for nothing other than the wills of the men who control them, because of the places because of the positions that they're being pushed into. You know, if everything went how it should go, Rhaenyra's named heir, Alicent's just some random Hightower girl, King Viserys marries the Valerian girl, maybe she becomes Hand of the Queen one day, right? Alicent is Hand of the Queen while Rhaenyra is the ruler, but because these people are so primitive.
Because Otto pushed his daughter to marry Viserys, now everything changes.
Right, yeah. And he's doing that for the benefit of his own house. So that's kind of what you do in this world. I
don't see that, like, who you're rooting for. I think Rhaenyra, like, even Daemon to an extent, I mean, he is complex and probably one of the more great characters established, but I did see a funny tweet. It was like, I'll paraphrase it, but it was something along the lines of, like, I respect Cersei fans because they accepted her for who he was, unlike Daemon fans who are like, my little meow meow.
And I guess with Cersei, it was sort of, they set her up so much as a villain in the beginning, and then you start to realize as the story unfolds, she's way more complex than that. So I think Cersei fans just, they appreciated that about her and never apologized for the villainous things she did, because that was just always there. You can't separate the two. And I think maybe it's people need to realize that with these characters, that you can't separate everything about them. You know, they are a mixture of good and bad, and those are the characters George always loves to write. And it's a different time period, you know, it's the height of the Targaryen dynasty, it's the height of their arrogance. They believe that they're going to establish the second age of dragons, they're going to do all these great things. It's not like with the original Game of Thrones where it's very easy to see, you know, the Starks are so separated from all that bullshit. They're naturally going to be just better characters for us to gravitate towards.
And I think making Alicent, especially in this episode, hearing her perspective on a lot of the things that that happened to her that were out of her control, I think becomes very sympathetic. I think right away people were so quick to put the label of conniving on her, or that she's being somehow somehow she's playing the game and trying to manipulate the situation when it really was her father, as they portrayed to us and shown on screen. I think a lot of people took their preconceived notions from what they've read or the stories they heard about this character from some of the novels and short stories and placed that on her right away, and without giving her a real fair shot, where we see now the way events are playing out. Again, she was 15 when her father made her go see the king. Like, she had no control over the situation. Everything that has happened to her so far since we've been introduced to this character were because of outside influences. So I think
she's also good at her job.
Yeah.
So maybe she didn't want to do it, but she did a good job seducing Viserys.
Well, she made the best of what situation she was put in.
Yeah.
So I think
maybe if she
But they
wasn't
were
as
also
charming, things would have been better off.
Not
he
having,
wasn't as aggressive. He wasn't aggressive either. They built a good bond.
Yeah,
from what we saw, it looked like they were having a good bond, a good time together. You can kind of see that she was a little standoffish, but he wasn't wasn't like on her. You know.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off again.
No, I wasn't.
But your point sparked going back to the whole 3 years, how things can change, right?
Yeah.
In the last episode, it seems like they have a better rapport between them. But what does an adult and a kid talk about, you know?
Yeah, true.
For 3 years. How do you keep the fire? It's really difficult. And I think he's sort of losing some patience with her, like in that scene with Daemon where my wife is a child, so she's going to say things that it's not even such a stupid thing to say, but it's just I can bully this person because it's a kid, right? I don't have to respect them like I would respect a Lady Emma in a formal situation, right? I doubt he would ever pull that shit in front of Emma, but because it's Alicent, because she's young, and I guess he perceives her as naive in this situation, he pounces on her.
Well, even I forget who the First Lord was that was introduced to Rhaenyra to try to win her favor, I guess.
I liked his face. He had a strong medieval face.
But she like whispers that, like, you know, he's almost like he's as old as my father.
Right.
And look at your best friends, which she had to endure, right? So, like, I don't see Rhaenyra as being entitled. Maybe from the medieval perspective or in this world's perspective, she is being entitled, but
right, it's from the perspective of the society. But if from our perspective,
from her taking control of the situation and wanting to live a normal life, and I'm the heir to the throne, so why can't I act like a male heir to the throne? You know, I'm not someone to be sold off, or, you know, I'm going to be the monarch.
Right, that's such a cliche, right? The heir to the throne doesn't want it. I mean, Aragorn, just kind of wandering around. I'm not saying he's out in brothels fucking, and it's a little different. Yeah. But Chalamet the King, right? The first 10, 20 minutes of that movie, he's just out partying, enjoying his time, delaying his responsibilities. And that's what she's trying to just delay adulthood here because it's been expected of her for so long. So when do you have time to be a kid? Mm-hmm. They're like child stars, you know? That's why I think Alicent, it's important development because she admits it, that she's kind of losing her sense of self. She doesn't know who she is anymore. It's just all being polite, showing manners, doing your duty. There's just nothing more to her life than that. So you see those moments of when she's in bed with Viserys and she looks dead on the inside until he kind of grabs her and she gives him that awkward smile. It's a nasty predicament to be in.
What kind of show 4 episodes in does a 10-year time jump and gets rid of everyone?
It's gonna be like 5
It's gonna be interesting to see how people react to that. But I think that what people don't realize is that there's going to be a lot of characters intrduced in the second half of the season.
Well, it has been announced that they might bring them back for maybe flashbacks or something in season 2. But I honestly can't wait to see Emma Darcy and Olivia Cooke in these roles with these established characters jumping however many years they decide to jump. I think they're both going to be, you know, there's no reason to think that, okay, just because these versions of the characters are great, that the next versions aren't going to be just as good or even better.
No, but it's just crazy that like they're establishing a whole new world in the same season. A 10-year time jump.
No, it's interesting, but like we talked about, I think like the big story is yet to. This is all set up.
Is there a jump in the book? Like, is this in the book? Like a big jump like this?
The book is mostly them as adults.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot of rumors of what happened when they were younger. But it's mostly from
This is like a very extended prologue.
Oh. Right, yeah. This is still kind of prologue territory.
Like we don't know.
So things like Daemon being exiled, it was always ambiguous. He came back after his victory, and then there was a falling out, but nobody kind of knew what it was about.
Oh.
So now it's... You can kind of connect the dots because eventually what happens in the story. but that's something that, you know, we get some insight.
Wow.
And they're kind of marketing
cool.
this as the true version of the events, because Fire and Blood has all these unreliable narrators. It's just it's like a textbook. It's any historical book, so it's going to have some inaccuracies. And now here's the, you know, the actual truth. So it's kind of fun, you know. It's like we're getting it's all fake, but
it's like we're getting a history.
it's like we're
lesson
going
right
back
now.
in time, seeing what really happened with Caesar.
It's
and
like
those
that.
senators.
It's like that. The fight. Wasn't there a fight in Game of Thrones that Ned Stark said he won, but he actually lost?
Arthur Dane, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
I know, knowing Ned, he probably just left it very much like, oh, fight happened, I have survived, whatever, leave it
Yeah.
at that. But I like to think of him like with his buddies drinking and being like, and he came at me with this move, and I.
What's that guy? The thing that Stu posted. Did you see that on Instagram? So I pulled out the hammer. The man across pulled out the hammer.
What's funny though is in the books, everyone knows he's not a good warrior.
Yeah.
So everyone kind of thinks, I wonder what really
true.
happened, because it's not adding up.
It's Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl. He had that sick run, and that's all. You know, that's it.
You know the episode in Seinfeld when the guy sells him the racket, the tennis racket, and then the instructor's actually terrible at tennis.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah,
Jerry
that's
finds
it. That would be Ned starting a sword fighting class. The man who killed Arthur Dane. Step right up.
He can't even draw a sword.
He cuts himself as he Cat, get wet towel. This episode, I mean, it's just so much great setup. So much quiet. It's very quiet. You know, you had the big scene to end episode 3. But these are the important episodes, man. That goes such a long way.
What a difference between shows with Lord of the Rings. Their setup right now is so much more exciting than the setup in Lord of the Rings. But this is all set up too.
You know
we're
what?
watching right
It's
now.
just because
I mean, if
Lord of the Rings is selling the world, this show is selling the characters.
Yeah,
and I think that's
100%.
the difference. It's easy. It's
Well, the
so much
world is-
easier to buy into characters.
Well, you can argue the world's already established in Lord of the Rings too, but I think it's a bit different. So you don't have to explain Hand of the King. You don't have to explain some of the small, because this world and the systems are pretty much identical to what, except with the dragons, to what was established in Game of Thrones. So I think that allows them the luxury of setting up the characters and focusing on that more than establishing how this world works.
You know what was funny, man? The way Damon flew that dragon close to the ship, and Rhaenyra liked it.
I know.
The bad boy is back in town, right? Nice little nudge. Hey, I'm
I
back.
don't know him here.
Yeah, right. I love that
That's
design
what
of
I'm
that
saying,
fucking
man.
dragon.
He came in there. He hit the boat. He walks in limping, like it's like the gimp walk.
He was two-stepping, man. The way he walked
Ground
into
tilted.
Westerling's sword was so gangster. Just walks right into
got
it,
so
looks
much
down
swag,
in it.
man.
Yeah, he's just absolutely swagged out. I can't believe people are getting still so hung up on this man being ugly. I think he's perfect for this
Yeah.
role. He's got the perfect look for it.
He's,
I don't know, the way he talks makes up for it. I think he's
Yeah.
handsome.
He's an incredible talent. Yeah, he's just the way he delivers the Valyrian dialogue as well. It's just
Smooth.
it's so confident, very smooth.
Your Grace. The princess was seen throwing it back in a brothel.
She was twerking with Meg Thee Stallion and She-Hulk. Crossover of the century. And it was interesting when Rhaenyra steals the food and she runs away and she
Yeah.
runs into Harwin Strong.
Yeah.
There you go.
By the way, you're I know, have some fun, but that man's got to feed his family.
I know, right? What a fucking dick. Kids don't like falafel? Batman Begins when they steal the falafel.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got a family to feed. And he's like, what, your kids don't like falafel? But she's pretending to be one of the people. She's running around dressed as a boy, but she can't escape her privilege. And it's twofold, right? She's got these responsibilities as princess, but if you're just some random regular boy and you get caught by Harwin Strong stealing, you're going to lose a fucking hand.
Yeah.
He sees her and he goes, be careful, boy. He gives her a pass.
Mm-hmm.
So, she may not appreciate what she has to go through as
consequences, yeah, she
princess.
didn't really see.
But now
Yeah.
it's, sometimes it helps you out, that you can do things that other people can't.
Do you know who my dad is? She could unleash, though.
Right. That's the whole thing, is
Yeah.
that she's not going to get in trouble. Even when she wants to act like a commoner and she does something that, she's trying to be more mischievous. At the end of the day, you're still the princess.
Yeah.
So people are, they're going to be terrified to reprimand you, punish you.
It's
Just
so
go out
funny.
and do your thing.
The people in this world, all a woman character has to do is cut her hair or put a hat on. And boy,
yeah.
Well, I pointed that out on my review that whenever a non-Targaryen gets pissed at a Targaryen, they become racist. Kicks in right away.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about these rumors, and I know you Targaryens like doing that.
Yeah.
She's like, whoa! Yes, but technically it didn't happen. I mean,
No, yeah, it didn't.
the way she lied on her parents' grave.
Oh my! They both did.
I know. It's like, damn, she's just like me.
But Viserys said what? That he wasn't going to supplant her, and he swore on Emma's grave.
Right, but I think Viserys, it seems like he's
Think it'd be
standing
genuine?
strong on that. Yeah,
hope so.
I think so. He makes the
Push
point
comes
that
to
if
shove,
I
though, I
go
don't think he is.
back against my word, what if some people actually, we talked about all the pledges that they made in episode 1, that some of them could be bullshit, but some of them aren't. I'm sure there's many lords out there that are like, you know what? It's time for a change in Westeros. Men have fucked up the kingdom. How bad could a woman be? So if he goes against that word, these lords are going to be like, so now I have to come back to King's Landing and pledge fealty to the baby?
It's like a 2-month fucking journey.
But going back against your word, I think it does show some weakness. It shows more weakness than naming a woman heir than to rescind that. I don't think you're going to, win back the respect of anybody who thinks that was a bad decision, and you're just going to piss off the people who actually agree with you. So
Yeah,
it's
but
like he doesn't have a choice.
If she just gets married, then that burden's off of him. But she won't do it. If she would just wed,
She's definitely going to now, yeah, because of the preview.
yeah.
Maybe you should watch.
No, I'm saying
Yell at him again?
No. I'm saying like in his head, if she just gets married, that burden comes off of him, and he won't have to go back on his word.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it just makes it, he says to her, you're my political headache,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I don't know why you just attacked me. Both of you are just attacking me today.
We're in a feisty mood, man. There's feeling like a homie from House Blackwood. Fucking legend, bro. And it's funny because those houses have the centuries-old rivalry. Typical, you took our land. Mm-hmm. The other side says, no, you took our land. So, and Blood of the First Men, the Baratheon advisor tells her, listen, both these two houses can pull huge armies. This would be great for the king. She's like, I'm just thinking about Daemon.
Leave me alone.
Do they have silver hair? No? Okay. And it is funny, the lining
Sea
up.
snakes do, though.
Right, yeah. I like that. I'm going to call their family the Sea Snakes. Yeah. He just pop a sea snake with all his baby sea snakes. I'm excited for them to come back in the fold, obviously, if there's going to be a wedding between the two families. Because Eve Bess is Rhaenys. I love listening to her talk.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what lessons she's going to give the characters that she talks with.
Like in the preview for the next episode, why can't we just get a normal wedding?
What do you mean?
There's never been a normal wedding in Westeros. It just seems like there was fighting going on and
right. That's a great Dothraki wedding.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I loved in the book when at the Red Wedding,
The fighting is, if no one dies, is a Dothraki
it's
wedding.
considered a dull affair
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't die.
Just go to the Ritz and have a good, just a regular reception.
I remember in the Red Wedding,
ceremony.
before everything pops off, they were talking about what was happening outside of the castle, and it seemed like just the worst party to be to. Just people fighting and fucking,
guys being
dirty.
dudes.
Yeah.
And wrestle outside the wedding.
Apparently the Freys were upset that so many Starks were there because they couldn't feed them all. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, Otto Hightower being dismissed, so that makes Alicent even more isolated. And I think that's going to be an interesting part of her development.
It's about time you sniffed that out.
Right, but what happens when you feel like you have no one else you can lean on? What type of character do you become?
Vulnerable and open for anything.
That's a good way to put it, man.
Well, I think Otto, he also, as much as he is looking out for himself, he also does serve the realm pretty well. I think he's capable at his job.
You said it.
Whereas Littlefinger,
He's way more Tywin than Littlefinger.
Because Littlefinger, like Varys said, he would burn down the whole kingdom if he can be king of its ashes. I don't think Otto.
No,
I don't think that's Otto's plan.
Littlefinger was way more self-serving.
Mm-hmm.
Otto he'll serve the kingdom, but he'll also serve his house. That's the difference, right? Maybe if Littlefinger was born to a noble house, he would be more like Otto.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the money, I've got the armies, I've got this and that. Could want a little more. But Littlefinger was a hustler.
Mm-hmm.
Can't fit that hustle inside of a wrapper.
Hey, man, he made a move. It was a good move. It just got caught at the last second.
He made too many moves, man. He
Yeah,
was
he
flying
was.
too close to the sun.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Viserys was a little offended. Do you think I'm You think I'm that stupid?
I know.
Be a bit more discreet, a bit more subtle. Some nuance, man, to your game.
Your Grace, my spies that I've hired to follow your daughter 24/7 have reported that she was with Damon in a brothel. You could have probably put it a little bit more. Like, oh, I've just heard, like...
Yeah, just come out with it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but apparently Damon and Rhaenyra were banging in a brothel.
Yeah, but either way,
And it wasn't because of my spies.
I know.
I
overheard. But then you sound worse.
I was in the brothel.
I was there.
So you know how my wife's dead, right?
We share that in common, right?
Yeah.
You ever want to come out to the brothels?
So old Hannah the King had to get his, so I strolled down to the brothel, and you'll never guess who I saw.
And you were wondering why Viserys was so upset about it. Even Damon says, why do you care? You know, we fucked half of the brothels by the time we were her age. And he's like, it's not about that. I love a good fuck. So it's interesting how he's sort of progressive when it comes to Rhaenyra in certain respects, right?
Yeah.
I'll let her do her own thing. And like you said, sending her the plan B there at the end.
He was more mad about her, like, opening herself up like that, though. No, I mean, not to Damon, but, like... to the public. Like, she goes to the brothel with Damon. Like, that, like you don't look good. We're trying to wedge you.
Going back to the strong king, weak king, when Damon says, who the fuck cares what other people think, right?
Yeah.
You're a fucking dragon. There are people lying. You could put that on the fucking Facebook and put it on every social media. Rhaenyra's not a virgin. I mean, yeah, Rhaenyra. And nobody would care.
Yeah, no.
You get a silver-haired baby. That's a fucking golden goose.
Yeah. It's the golden goose. It's the white heart, man.
Exactly, man. It really is.
Imagine, like, it's like, all right, here, you can marry the princess who's heir to the throne, but she might have had sex once.
Only maybe a
Seven hells. I'm going back to my shitty castle, and I'll never forward my position. Like, okay, I guess I'll marry the princess.
You know, I'm going to take the dragon. All right, guys, that does it for this spoiler discussion of episode 4 of House of the Dragon. We will be back next week to further discuss episode 5 after our review early in the week, and that should be fun, man. It's looking like it's going to be a juicy episode. So far, I think it's been as close to a perfect season as you can get. But for Aaron and Teddy, I'm Beau Oliver, signing off. Any last thoughts?
Not for me.
No, yeah, I'm good. Good job.
Signing off again.
Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron and Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our Patreon supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us broke.